They are
She
here!
married lonely rancher nobody dared to touch,
Sound the
then
alarm!
learned why he never took his
Defend
shirt
the
off.
camp!
While others in her village thrived on gossip, laughter, and social gatherings, she often found herself quietly observing, noticing the details that most ignored. She liked to understand people, not just the way they acted in public, but the hidden stories that shaped them. It was this habit that brought her attention to Ramture. Ramture was unlike anyone she had ever met. He was a man of few words, often keeping to himself as he moved about the village. When he walked down the narrow, dusty streets, people would part for him, not out of respect but out of fear. Rumors about him were common, and they were not kind. Some said he had a dark past. Others whispered that he was cursed or had done something terrible in his youth. Children were warned to stay away, and even adults avoided inviting him to their gatherings. But Maya was never one to believe in rumors without understanding the truth. She felt an unexplainable curiosity about him, a feeling that there was more to him than what everyone else thought. It was at a small village gathering on a warm summer evening that Maya first noticed him more closely. She was helping arrange the tables for the festival, arranging flowers and hanging lights while the villagers chatted and laughed. Ramture was there too, standing quietly at the edge of the crowd, his hands folded in front of him. Most people ignored him, continuing with their conversations, but Maya couldn't look away. There was a certain sadness in his eyes, a quiet loneliness that seemed to pull at her heart. She wondered what kind of life he had lived to make him so withdrawn. She found herself observing him over the next few weeks, noticing little details. The way he would help the elderly cross the street without seeking any thanks. How he would pick up trash along the riverbank, leaving it cleaner than he had found it. These small, unnoticed acts revealed a kind nature hidden beneath the veil of fear and mystery that the villagers saw. Maya began to realize that Ramture was not someone to fear. He was someone who had been hurt and misunderstood for years. One afternoon, by chance, Maya and Ramture met at the village market. She was buying vegetables for her family when she noticed him struggling to reach for a basket of tomatoes on a high shelf. Without thinking, she walked over and handed it to him. He looked at her surprised, as if he had forgotten how to expect kindness from strangers. "Thank you," he said softly, his voice barely audible. It was not loud, but there was a warmth in it, a quiet sincerity that made Maya smile. From that small encounter, something began to change. Their meetings became more frequent, though still casual and careful. Maya would see him on the riverbank in the mornings, sitting quietly with a small notebook, writing or sketching something she could not see clearly. Sometimes she would greet him and he would nod, offering a small smile. It was not much, but for someone who had been isolated for so long, it was everything. Slowly, a quiet friendship began to form, built on unspoken understanding and simple gestures. Despite her growing curiosity, Maya respected his space. She knew that rushing into his life would only push him away. Instead, she tried to understand him from a distance, observing the way he interacted with the few people who dared approach him. There was a gentleness in him that contrasted sharply with the harshness of the rumors. She began to notice patterns in his behavior, how he avoided physical contact, how he wore long sleeves even in the hottest days, and how he seemed almost invisible when surrounded by the noisy villagers. There was a reason behind his solitude, she felt, though she did not yet know what it was. One rainy evening, the village experienced a sudden downpour. Maya was returning from the market when she saw Ramture sitting under the shelter of an old tree, his head lowered as raindrops fell on him. Most people would have hurried past, avoiding the rain entirely, but Maya paused. She approached slowly and offered him her umbrella. For the first time, she noticed the slight tremble in his hands as he took it. "You shouldn't get wet," she said gently. He looked up at her, a flicker of surprise and gratitude in his eyes. "I thank you," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. It was in that moment that Maya realized there was a deep vulnerability within him, a fragility that he had hidden behind his silence for years. Over the next few weeks, their encounters became a small but steady routine. Maya would sometimes bring him food she had cooked, leaving it at the riverbank where he sat. Ramcher, in turn, began to leave small tokens of gratitude, sometimes a smooth stone he found by the river, sometimes a simple sketch of the trees around him. Their bond grew quietly, without words, without the need for public acknowledgement. The villagers continued to whisper, but Maya no longer cared about their opinions. She had seen who he truly was, and she felt a connection she could not ignore. Maya's curiosity about him was not just about understanding his past. It was about understanding the man he was becoming in the present. She began to see glimpses of hope in his behavior, a rare smile when the sun shone on the river, a hint of laughter when a child waved at him from across the street. These moments were small, but they were meaningful. They showed that beneath his quiet exterior, Ramcher was capable of joy, friendship, and perhaps even love. Maya felt that if she could be patient, if she could continue to show kindness without expectation, she might be able to help him open up to the world again. What fascinated Maya most was the mystery behind his avoidance of others. He never let anyone touch him unnecessarily, never showed any part of himself that could make him vulnerable. It was as if he carried a secret so heavy that even a casual gesture of curiosity would frighten him. She respected his boundaries, but her heart ached with curiosity. What had caused this fear? Why had he chosen a life of solitude when the world could have been kinder if only he had been allowed to experience it? As the days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Maya's presence in his life became a quiet constant. She was a silent witness to his routines, an unseen but steady source of comfort. Ramcher, for his part, began to anticipate her arrival, feeling a small sense of relief whenever she appeared. Their connection was delicate, unspoken, but real. Through shared glances, subtle gestures, and acts of kindness, Maya had begun to break through the walls Ramcher had built around himself. By the time the first hints of autumn colored the village, Maya knew that her feelings for Ramcher had grown deeper than curiosity. She felt a desire to be part of his life, to understand him fully, and perhaps even to help him heal from the invisible scars she knew he carried. And though she could not yet see the full extent of his pain, she sensed that it was only a matter of time before the truth would reveal itself, and when it did, she would be there to face it with him. Even now, Maya could not explain why she felt such a strong connection to Ramcher. Perhaps it was his quiet resilience, or perhaps it was the loneliness she herself had known in her own life. Whatever the reason, she felt that meeting him had changed her in ways she could not yet articulate. She had discovered a depth of compassion she had not known existed within her, and a willingness to stand by someone who the world had abandoned in whispers and rumors. And so, the story of Maya and Ramcher began, not with grand gestures or dramatic confrontations, but with quiet observation, small acts of kindness, and a shared understanding that some connections are built in silence. In those early days, before anyone else could understand, Maya had discovered the man behind the rumors, and he had discovered, without realizing it, that someone cared enough to look beyond the walls he had built. As the days passed, Maya's bond with Ramcher grew stronger. What had started as casual encounters in the market or by the riverbank slowly transformed into a gentle friendship. Maya could feel that Ramcher was beginning to trust her, though he still remained reserved. Every time she approached him, he seemed cautious, as if he were testing whether she would understand him, whether she would respect his silence and solitude. Most people in the village had long given up trying to reach him, but Maya saw potential in him, a quiet soul that had been misunderstood for too long. Maya's friends were the first to notice her growing attachment to Ramcher. One afternoon, as she sat with them under the shade of a large banyan tree, they asked in disbelief, Why him, Maya? Why are you spending so much time with someone everyone avoids? You could have chosen anyone else, someone popular, someone people like. Maya looked at them calmly. She had heard their warnings many times, but they did not shake her. I don't care about what others think, she said softly. There is more to him than what people see. I want to understand him for who he really is. Her friends exchanged skeptical glances but said nothing more. They could not understand why Maya was drawn to someone who had been isolated for so long, who seemed so unlike everyone else. But Maya did not need them to understand. She felt a connection with Ramcher that went beyond appearances or gossip. She noticed the small details, the way he would pause to watch a bird in flight, the care with which he tended the small garden behind his house, the way he always helped stray animals without hesitation. These were small gestures, but they spoke volumes about the man he truly was. Slowly, their friendship began to take on a more personal dimension. They started spending more time together in ways that went beyond the brief encounters in the market. Maya would sometimes bring him food she had cooked, leaving it at the riverbank where he liked to sit. Ramcher accepted it quietly at first, but soon he began to anticipate these visits. He would greet her with a small smile, a nod, or a soft thank you, each gesture carrying more meaning than words ever could. It was during these moments that Maya saw glimpses of his personality, a man who was thoughtful, gentle, and deeply sensitive. Their conversations, though limited, were meaningful. Ramcher did not speak much, but when he did, it was with care. He chose his words carefully, and Maya found herself hanging on every one. She asked him about his interests, about the books he read, about the sketches he made in his notebook. Slowly, Ramcher began to open up about small things. The way he enjoyed the calmness of the river, the satisfaction he felt when helping someone without being noticed, and the comfort he found in solitude. Maya listened without judgment, never pressing for more than he was willing to share. She realized that patience was the key to reaching him. Despite this growing closeness, Maya could not ignore the subtle signs of his discomfort. Ramcher never allowed anyone to touch him unnecessarily. He always wore long sleeves, even in the hot sun, and he avoided situations that might expose him physically. He was cautious, protective of himself in ways that Maya did not yet fully understand. But she did not push. Instead, she respected his boundaries, sensing that there was a deeper reason behind his behavior. Her curiosity was gentle, not intrusive. She wanted to understand him, not to force him to reveal what he was not ready to share. One evening, during the early days of autumn, Maya invited Ramcher to walk along the river with her. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. The air was crisp, carrying the earthy scent of fallen leaves. Ramcher hesitated at first, but Maya's calm presence encouraged him to join. They walked in silence at first, listening to the gentle rustling of the trees and the distant sound of children playing. Slowly, the conversation began. They spoke about the changing seasons, about memories from childhood, and about the small joys they found in everyday life. It was a simple walk, yet for both of them it was profound. During these walks, Maya began to notice something even more remarkable. Ramcher was not only kind but also extremely observant. He noticed small details that others overlooked, the way a leaf fluttered in the wind, the pattern of ripples on the water, the tiny insects moving along the riverbank. His observations were thoughtful, and he spoke about them with quiet wonder. Maya found herself amazed by the depth of his perception, realizing that he saw the world in a way few others could. This awareness made her feel even closer to him, as if she were slowly being allowed to step into the world through his eyes. Maya's growing feelings for Ramcher were accompanied by a determination to see him happy, to make him feel that someone genuinely cared. She began to include small acts of kindness in her visits, bringing his favorite snacks, sharing stories of her day, or simply sitting beside him in companionable silence. Ramcher, in turn, started showing subtle signs of trust. He would share a thought, a sketch, or a small smile that spoke volumes. It was not dramatic, but it was meaningful. Slowly, the walls he had built around himself were beginning to crack, revealing glimpses of the man hidden beneath years of isolation. Despite these signs of trust, Ramcher remained cautious about revealing too much of himself. He still wore long sleeves, still avoided physical contact, and still kept his personal life private. Maya understood that his caution was not a rejection of her, but a reflection of the pain he had endured and the fear of being misunderstood. She realized that patience, understanding, and unwavering kindness were the only ways to help him feel safe enough to open up completely. Her compassion became a bridge, allowing him to step, however cautiously, out of the shadows he had long inhabited. During this period, the village continued to whisper about Maya's growing interest in Ramcher. People were puzzled, some even critical. Why would she spend so much time with him? They asked. He is strange, quiet, and keeps to himself. She could do better. Maya, however, ignored their judgment. She knew what they did not. Ramcher's quiet demeanor hid a heart full of kindness, resilience, and honesty. She had seen glimpses of it, and she believed that love and understanding could help him find the courage to embrace life fully. As the days turned into weeks, Maya also began to notice small changes in Ramcher. His smiles, though rare, became more frequent. He laughed softly at her stories, sometimes even initiating conversation on his own. He began to show small acts of consideration, holding the door open for her, carrying items for her, or offering a thoughtful remark about something she had said. These gestures were subtle, but they signaled a growing comfort and trust that warmed Maya's heart. She realized that the quiet friendship they had built was slowly blossoming into something deeper. Maya also began to reflect on her own feelings. She realized that her connection with Ramcher was more than curiosity or compassion. It was love. She admired his gentle nature, his thoughtfulness, and the resilience he had shown despite the loneliness and misunderstandings of his past. She knew that he had been hurt in ways she could not yet see, but she felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Her love was patient, quiet, and unwavering, a steady force that could give Ramcher the courage to open his heart in return. One day, as they walked along the river, Ramcher paused to watch a small group of birds flying across the sky. Maya stood beside him, watching in silence. After a few moments, he turned to her and said, softly but firmly, "You are different from the others." Maya smiled, sensing the weight of his words. She understood that it was not just a compliment. It was a recognition of the trust they had built, a small acknowledgement that he had begun to accept her presence in his life. It was a breakthrough, a moment that marked the beginning of a deeper bond between them. By the end of this period, Maya knew one thing for certain. Her life had changed because of Ramcher. She had discovered a quiet courage within herself, the ability to love someone patiently, to respect boundaries, and to see beyond appearances and rumors. And she had begun to see a change in him as well. Slowly, subtly, Ramcher was beginning to emerge from the shadows, showing hints of the man he truly was, a man capable of kindness, loyalty, and love, waiting for the right person to recognize it. And so their relationship continued to grow, not through grand gestures or dramatic declarations, but through small, meaningful moments. Shared meals, quiet walks, gentle conversations, and acts of understanding. Maya had become a source of comfort and trust for Ramcher, someone who had seen beyond the walls he had built around himself. And though he still had fears, doubts, and secrets, Maya felt confident that with patience and love, those walls could eventually come down, revealing the man he had long hidden from the world. As the months passed, Maya and Ramcher's friendship deepened, evolving into something neither of them had expected. Their small moments together, quiet walks, shared meals, and soft conversations, had slowly built a bridge between two souls that had known loneliness in different ways. Maya had grown to admire not only Ramcher's gentleness and thoughtfulness, but also the quiet strength he carried beneath his reserved exterior. She realized that behind his shyness, behind the walls he had built, was a man who had endured more pain and misunderstanding than most could imagine. It was during one of their walks along the riverbank that Maya began to sense a shift in her own feelings. She no longer saw Ramcher simply as a mysterious or misunderstood man. She saw him as someone she genuinely wanted to spend her life with. His quiet courage, his unwavering kindness, and the subtle way he had begun to trust her touched her deeply. Maya understood that love was not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it was quiet, patient, and steady, built over months of understanding and care. Maya's friends continued to notice her growing attachment to Ramcher, and their reactions were mixed. Some were shocked, unable to understand why she would choose someone so reclusive and misunderstood. Others were supportive but cautious, knowing that the path ahead would not be easy. "Are you sure about this?" one of her friends asked gently. "He is different from everyone else, yes, but there is so much about him we do not know." Maya nodded. She had considered this herself, yet she felt a certainty she could not explain. She trusted Ramcher, and she believed that love and patience could help them both heal in ways they had never imagined. One evening, as the sun began to set and the sky turned a soft shade of pink, Maya finally shared her feelings with Ramcher. They were sitting on the riverbank, watching the water flow gently past them. Maya took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of nervousness and hope. "Ramcher," she began softly, "I care for you more than I can say. I want to be part of your life, not just as a friend, but as someone who stands by you through everything. Will you consider being with me as more than friends?" For a long moment, Ramcher said nothing. His eyes, usually quiet and reserved, reflected surprise and perhaps a hint of fear. Maya could sense his hesitation. He had spent so many years isolated, so many years shielding himself from the world, that the idea of someone loving him openly was both wonderful and terrifying. Slowly, he looked at her, and a small, almost imperceptible smile appeared. I don't know how to respond," he said quietly. "I have lived so long alone that I don't know if I can accept this, but I want to try." That moment marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. Though Ramcher was still cautious, he agreed to explore their relationship further. Their bond, built on months of trust and understanding, now had the potential to grow into something deeper and more meaningful. Maya felt a mixture of joy and relief. She knew that the road ahead would not be simple, but she also knew that love, patience, and understanding could overcome many obstacles. As their relationship developed, Maya began to notice small changes in Ramcher's behavior. He still remained private and careful, but he started to open up in ways he had never done before. He shared stories of his childhood, memories of his family, and even small dreams for the future. Each revelation, no matter how minor, was a victory, a sign that he was learning to trust her with parts of himself he had long hidden. Maya listened with patience, never judging, never pushing for more than he was willing to give. Despite this progress, the villagers remained curious and often skeptical. Whispers followed them wherever they went. "She is marrying him," some would ask. "Why would she choose someone so quiet, so distant?" But Maya paid no attention. She had learned long ago that other people's opinions did not matter when it came to matters of the heart. She had seen the goodness in Ramcher, the quiet resilience, and the gentle kindness that others overlooked. That was enough for her. The decision to marry came slowly, naturally, and thoughtfully. Maya did not rush Ramcher, understanding that he needed time to feel secure and confident in his choice. They discussed their future together, shared their hopes and fears, and made promises grounded in understanding and patience rather than grand gestures or dramatic declarations. For Ramcher, this process was both terrifying and liberating. He had never imagined that someone would truly want to share a life with him, accept him as he was, and care for him deeply. Maya's love was a new experience, one that challenged his long-held fears, but also offered him a chance at happiness he had almost forgotten existed. Their wedding was a small, intimate affair, reflecting the simplicity and sincerity of their relationship. The village came together, not just out of curiosity, but in recognition of the love and patience that had brought them together. While some still whispered about the unusual union, the warmth and joy between Maya and Ramchur were undeniable. For the first time in his life, Ramchur felt accepted, valued, and loved openly. It was a moment of triumph, not just for him but for Maya as well, who had believed in him when no one else did. Even after the wedding, Ramchur remained cautious about revealing himself fully. He still wore long sleeves, avoiding any situation that might expose the scars he carried, though Maya had not yet learned the full reason for his carefulness. She respected his boundaries, understanding that love was not about forcing someone to reveal themselves, but about supporting them until they felt ready. Her patience became a source of strength for Ramchur, a reminder that he could take small steps toward openness without fear of judgment. Maya also realized that their relationship was teaching her valuable lessons about compassion, patience, and empathy. Loving Ramchur was not always easy. It required understanding his fears, respecting his limits, and celebrating the small victories along the way. But she found joy in every moment they shared. The quiet mornings by the river, the gentle conversations under the shade of trees, the smiles and gestures that spoke volumes without words. These moments became the foundation of their growing love, building a connection stronger than either had ever experienced before. As they spent more time together in the early months of marriage preparation, Maya began to notice subtle changes in Ramchur's demeanor. He smiled more easily, laughed softly at her stories, and occasionally initiated conversations. He started participating in village activities, though still cautiously, and his interactions with others became slightly warmer. It was not a dramatic transformation, but it was progress, and Maya cherished each step forward. She understood that healing and trust take time, and she was willing to walk that path with him, no matter how long it took. Through this period, Maya also discovered more about Ramchur's character. He was deeply thoughtful, always considering the feelings of others, even when he was struggling with his own fears. He had a quiet courage, a resilience that had allowed him to survive years of solitude and misunderstanding. Maya admired this strength, recognizing that it was part of what made him so unique and valuable as a partner. Her respect and admiration for him grew alongside her love, creating a bond built on both emotional intimacy and mutual understanding. And so, the early stages of their courtship and decision to marry became a story of trust, patience, and quiet love. It was not marked by grand gestures or public displays, but by consistent, gentle acts of care and understanding. Maya's presence in Ramchur's life was transformative, giving him the courage to step gradually out of his isolation, while Ramchur's slow opening of his heart reaffirmed to Maya the power of patience, empathy, and genuine affection. By the time the wedding day approached, both Maya and Ramchur felt a deep sense of readiness. Maya knew that love was not just about the excitement of being together, but about accepting each other fully, flaws and all. Ramchur, though still carrying unspoken fears, felt a rare sense of hope. For the first time, he believed that he could have a life filled with love, trust, and companionship. The months of careful courtship had built a foundation strong enough to carry them into the next chapter of their lives together, a life that promised not only love but also healing and growth for both of them. After the wedding, Maya and Ramchur settled into their new life. Together, carrying the quiet joy of companionship and the comfort of understanding. Yet there was a part of Ramchur that remained hidden, a part that he had long protected from the world. Despite their closeness, he had never allowed Maya to see his bare chest, always wearing long sleeves and keeping himself covered, even during the hottest days. Maya had noticed this restraint from the very beginning, but she had respected his boundaries, understanding that some wounds are not visible but deeply felt. She had a sense that his reluctance was not about modesty or shyness alone. It was something more, something rooted in a past experience that had left its mark both physically and emotionally. For months, Maya lived with quiet curiosity and gentle patience. She focused on building trust, creating a safe space where Ramcher could share his fears without judgment. Their days were filled with simple routines, preparing meals together, walking along the river, tending to the small garden behind their house, and enjoying quiet evenings by the fire. Each day strengthened their bond, and Maya could see subtle changes in Ramcher. He smiled more openly, laughed softly at her stories, and even occasionally initiated small conversations with neighbors. Yet, there was still a part of him that remained closed, a secret he had not yet revealed. One rainy evening, as the sky darkened and the wind blew softly against the windows, Maya and Ramcher sat together by the fireplace. The rain tapped gently on the roof, creating a calm, rhythmic sound. Maya noticed the way he stared into the fire, his eyes distant and thoughtful. She reached out, lightly touching his hand. "Ramcher," she said softly, "you don't have to hide anything from me. You can tell me anything, no matter what it is." For a long moment he remained silent, as if struggling with an internal battle. Maya waited patiently, her heart full of hope and understanding. Finally, with a deep breath, Ramcher began to speak. His voice was quiet, trembling slightly, but there was a vulnerability in it that Maya had never seen before. "Maya, there is something I need to tell you," he began, "something I have never shared with anyone." Maya squeezed his hand gently, encouraging him to continue. "I am here, Ramcher. You can trust me." He nodded, taking another deep breath before revealing the truth. "Years ago I had an accident. It was terrible. I was injured badly, and the scars on my chest are a reminder of that day. I've lived with them ever since. I never wanted anyone to see them. That is why I always wear long sleeves and keep to myself. I was afraid that people would judge me, or that they would see me as broken." Maya listened quietly, her heart aching for the pain he had endured alone. She had sensed that there was more to his secrecy, but hearing the full truth brought a flood of emotions: sadness for the suffering he had hidden, admiration for his courage to survive, and deep love for the man he was, scars and all. She could see the fear in his eyes, the fear of rejection and judgment, but she also saw the trust he was placing in her by revealing such a personal part of himself. "Ramcher," Maya said softly, her voice steady and filled with warmth, "I don't care about the scars. I care about you. You are not broken, you are brave, kind, and strong. These scars are a part of your story, and I love you for everything you are, not in spite of it." For the first time, a sense of relief washed over Ramcher. He had carried this secret for years, fearing judgment, fearing loneliness, and fearing rejection. Maya's words were like a gentle balm, healing wounds that had been hidden for too long. He realized that her love was unconditional, that it was not dependent on appearances or physical perfection, but on the essence of who he was. In the days and weeks that followed, Maya continued to support Ramcher with unwavering patience. She encouraged him to take small steps toward self-acceptance, whether it was showing a small part of himself or speaking about his past experiences. She never pushed him beyond his comfort zone, understanding that healing is a gradual process. Ramcher, in turn, began to feel more confident, slowly letting go of the fear and shame that had controlled his life for so long. One sunny afternoon, as they walked along the riverbank, Ramcher paused and looked at Maya with a mixture of gratitude and vulnerability. "I never thought I could feel this safe with anyone," he said quietly. "You have shown me a kindness I never knew existed. You have given me courage, and for that I am forever grateful." Maya smiled, gently taking his hand. "You have always had courage, Ramcher. You survived so much, and you are still here. I am just here to remind you of what you already carry within yourself." Over time, their home became a sanctuary of trust and understanding. Friends and neighbors who once whispered about Ramcher's solitude began to notice the changes in him. He smiled more openly, joined village gatherings occasionally, and even helped others in ways that had previously gone unnoticed. Yet the most profound transformation was within Ramcher himself. He began to see his scars not as marks of shame, but as symbols of resilience and survival. With Maya by his side, he realized that he no longer needed to hide from the world or from love. Maya's patience and understanding also strengthened their relationship in ways beyond trust. Their bond deepened into a profound emotional intimacy. They shared dreams, hopes, and fears, discussing plans for the future and learning to rely on each other completely. Ramcher began to understand that love is not about perfection, but about acceptance, empathy, and companionship. Maya's unwavering support gave him the courage to embrace himself fully, scars and all. One evening, as they sat watching the sunset together, Ramcher finally removed his long sleeves. It was not a dramatic gesture, but a quiet, personal act of trust. Maya's eyes filled with warmth and admiration as she saw the physical scars he had hidden for so long. She reached out, gently touching his arm, and whispered, "I see you, all of you, and I love you even more." In that moment, Ramcher felt a profound sense of liberation. The fear that had haunted him for years, the fear of judgment, rejection, and loneliness, was replaced by the knowledge that he was loved and accepted completely. Maya's compassion and patience had broken the walls he had built around himself, revealing a man who was no longer afraid to face the world or to embrace love fully. Their story soon became an inspiration for others in the village. People who had once avoided Ramcher began to see him in a new light. They saw not a man to fear or whisper about, but a man who had endured hardships with courage and had found love through patience and understanding. Ramcher's journey became a testament to the power of compassion, the strength of trust, and the transformative effect of unconditional love. Through it all, Maya and Ramcher's relationship grew stronger. They had faced fears, shared vulnerabilities, and built a bond that could withstand any challenge. The scars that had once symbolized pain and isolation now represented resilience, survival, and the profound depth of human connection. Maya had helped Ramcher discover that love could heal wounds that time alone could not, and Ramcher had shown Maya the power of patience, trust, and quiet courage. In the end, Ramcher no longer feared revealing himself, both physically and emotionally. He embraced life with Maya by his side, confident in the knowledge that true love accepts every part of a person, even the parts they once tried to hide. Together, they had transformed a story of isolation and fear into one of trust, healing, and enduring love, a love that transcended scars, rumors, and the judgments of others. After Ramcher revealed the truth about his scars, life for both him and Maya began to take on a new meaning. What had once been caution, hesitation, and secrecy transformed into trust, openness, and shared joy. Maya's unwavering patience and love had broken through the barriers that had kept Ramcher isolated for so long, and now he was slowly learning to embrace not only her love but also life itself. Their home, once quiet and guarded, became a place of warmth, laughter, and mutual understanding. In the mornings, Maya would wake early and prepare breakfast while Ramcher tended to the small garden behind their house. Together, they would water the plants, trim the flowers, and watch the sun rise over the village. These simple routines became the cornerstone of their life, moments that strengthened their bond and deepened their connection. Ramcher began to share more of himself each day, not just his thoughts but his dreams, fears, and the memories he had long kept locked away. Maya listened patiently, offering encouragement and understanding, never rushing him, never questioning his past. As time passed, Ramcher became more confident in himself. The fear of judgment, which had haunted him for years, began to fade under the gentle reassurance of Maya's love. He started participating in village life more openly, attending festivals, helping neighbors, and even engaging in small conversations with children who had once been taught to avoid him. People began to see a change in him, a man no longer defined by his solitude or his scars, but by his kindness, thoughtfulness, and the quiet strength he carried within. Maya was a constant source of support in every step of this transformation. She celebrated the small victories with him, whether it was a smile shared with a neighbor, a kind word offered to someone in need, or simply a moment of laughter between the two of them. Through her encouragement, Ramcher learned that he could exist in the world fully, without hiding, without fear, and without shame. He began to understand that love, patience, and compassion could heal wounds that had seemed permanent, and that vulnerability was not weakness, but a doorway to deeper connection. One afternoon, as they walked along the riverbank, Ramcher paused and looked at Maya with a mixture of gratitude and wonder. "I never imagined I could feel this safe with anyone," he said quietly. "You have given me something I thought I would never have: trust, hope, and the courage to face myself." Maya smiled, gently taking his hand in hers. "You have always carried that courage inside you, Ramcher. I have just helped you see it. You survived so much on your own, and now you don't have to face anything alone." Their life together became a beautiful balance of comfort, adventure, and shared experiences. They explored nearby villages, helped organize small community events, and even taught local children simple lessons about kindness and respect. Ramcher's quiet wisdom and patient nature made him a respected figure in the community, not because of fear or rumors, but because of genuine admiration for the person he had become. Maya felt a deep sense of pride and happiness, knowing that love had transformed not only their relationship, but also the way Ramcher engaged with the world around him. Despite the changes, their love remained grounded in simplicity and authenticity. They did not need grand gestures or expensive gifts to show their affection. A shared meal, a quiet walk, a soft conversation, or a gentle touch was enough to communicate the depth of their bond. Maya had taught Ramcher that love is not measured by extravagance but by consistency, empathy, and understanding. And Ramcher, in turn, had shown Maya the profound strength that comes from patience, resilience, and trust. Over time, the villagers who had once whispered and gossiped about Ramcher began to change their perception of him. They saw a man who had endured hardship with courage, a man who had learned to trust, and a man who had found love and companionship through patience and understanding. Maya's role in this transformation was evident to everyone. Her compassion had not only helped Ramcher heal, but had also inspired the village to reconsider their judgments and embrace the idea that people are often much more than what they seem. Maya and Ramcher also began to talk about the future in ways they had never dared before. They dreamed of starting a family, creating a home filled with love, laughter, and understanding. They spoke about teaching their children the values that had guided their own relationship: patience, kindness, honesty, and the courage to embrace oneself fully. Ramcher, who had once feared vulnerability and rejection, now imagined a life where he could share his story openly, teach others about resilience, and live without hiding from the world. Even the smallest gestures became meaningful symbols of their love. Ramcher would leave little notes for Maya, expressing gratitude or sharing a thought he had written in his notebook. Maya would respond with warmth, small gifts, or acts of care, reinforcing the bond they shared. Each day became a building block of trust, connection, and emotional intimacy, creating a partnership that was unshakable and deeply fulfilling. As the seasons changed, so did their life together. Spring brought flowers and new growth to their garden. Summer brought long walks along the river. Autumn brought quiet evenings by the fire. And winter brought shared blankets and comforting warmth. Each season symbolized a step in their journey, a reminder of the life they had built together through understanding, patience, and love. Maya and Ramcher celebrated the small joys of life, finding happiness in each other's company and in the beauty of the world around them. One day, while sitting together on a hill overlooking the village, Ramcher turned to Maya and said, "I never imagined I could be this happy, that I could feel this complete. You have given me a life I thought I would never have, and for that I am eternally grateful." Maya smiled, her eyes shining with love. "And you have given me courage too, Ramcher. You have taught me the meaning of patience, trust, and unconditional love. Together we are stronger than we ever were alone." Their story became a symbol for the village, a tale of love that transcended fear, misunderstanding, and past pain. It was a story of two people who had found each other against the odds, who had faced personal fears and insecurities, and who had built a life together based on empathy, trust, and unwavering support. Maya and Ramcher's relationship was not perfect, but it was real, authentic, and deeply meaningful, serving as a reminder that true love is built not on appearances, but on acceptance, understanding, and shared growth. Over the years, Ramcher learned to embrace his scars fully, no longer seeing them as a source of shame, but as a part of his journey, a testament to the challenges he had overcome. Maya continued to stand by him, a constant source of support and encouragement, celebrating his courage and resilience. Together, they faced life's challenges, both big and small, with a shared sense of strength and optimism. Their love, once quiet and tentative, now flourished openly, inspiring others and providing a model of what compassion, patience, and understanding can achieve. In the evenings, they would often sit together by the river, watching the sunset and reflecting on their journey. They would talk about the past, sharing memories of the moments that had brought them together, and they would dream about the future, imagining a life filled with love, laughter, and fulfillment. These moments of reflection reinforced the bond they shared, reminding them of the resilience and courage that had carried them through the most difficult times. Maya and Ramcher had discovered something rare and beautiful, a love that could heal wounds, overcome fear, and transform lives. They had learned that true connection comes not from perfection or appearances, but from acceptance, empathy, and the willingness to stand by someone through their most vulnerable moments. Their story was a celebration of the human spirit, demonstrating that patience, understanding, and unconditional love can create a life of joy, fulfillment, and profound emotional connection. And so, their journey continued, day by day, season by season, with love as the foundation of everything they did. Maya and Ramcher had built a life that was not only meaningful for themselves, but also inspiring to those around them. Their story was a testament to the transformative power of compassion, trust, and patience, showing that even the deepest scars, whether physical or emotional, could be met with understanding, empathy, and love. In each other, they had found not just a partner, but a source of strength, comfort, and unwavering support, proving that true love can overcome any obstacle and flourish in the most unexpected of places.